G'day, Paul from Small Crown Productions here. Welcome back to the channel. Shakespeare mentions a variety of different alcohols throughout his plays, and so across a small series of videos we are going to look at a number of them. We will be speaking to Ian Vowles, who is a master brewer within the International Medieval Society, the Society for Creative Anachronism. This video we will be talking about cider, so let's go.
So cider is apple juice that has been fermented, and you can find it in two forms, a carbonated form and an uncarbonated form. So usually when it's carbonated, it's cider, right? And when it's uncarbonated, it's often referred to as scrumpy. So the carbonation is to process the juice whilst it's fermenting in a sealed container. So that frequently that was done with a barrel, and you might in reference material find the concept where someone says "ton it up close," which really means to seal it up so that no air can get out, and in fact carbon dioxide as you're fermenting is formed, and then it's carbonated inside the barrel. This can be very exciting when you open the barrel. I have seen, not in the case of cider, but in the case of a beer, a traditional brewery that was making them in the barrels in their pub, and they would bring out a barrel that was ready to serve, and it had been tunned up close, it was sealed. They brought it out to the bar, they placed it up on a stand on the bar, they had two gentlemen ready to go. One had the tap, the other had a mallet and a chisel, and they knocked the big bung out of the barrel top. Stuff sprays everywhere as one person very, very quickly puts the tap in and then hammers it in place so that it's sealed again. And then they serve it by the tap on the barrel straight off the bar. Apples aren't necessarily an easy thing to process when you want the juice. What you needed to do was get your apples one way or another. It wasn't unusual for them to be the early falls from the apple trees, and so they would pick those up before they went rotten, smash them up so that they would sort of put them into a big barrel and use sort of sticks with a contoured end so that it would kind of grab onto the apples in a barrel. I'm sure you can understand it's fairly hard to hit apples in a barrel to break them. You want to break it all up, smash it all up, and then you would get what is looking like a very, very large book press, or as they refer to, a cider press. And the smashed up apples are placed inside fabric, usually in multiple layers inside the press, and the press have great big handles to push it all down and squeeze it all out, and have a big barrel at the bottom to collect up all your juice. So that juice is then placed into some suitable fermentation container, usually a barrel, and you would do something that would encourage it to get some yeast growth. Sometimes that's just sort of good enough if you've got a brewery that's been going enough years. There's yeasty critters all around the place in your brewery, and they just effectively get into your juice, and the juice just starts to ferment. It's nearly always something on the skin of an apple, on the skin of a grape, in the air that you can pick up, a wild yeast, as we might say. And it just starts to ferment, and off you go. In this day and age, we have scientists who are culturing the yeasts, and you can buy a specific strain of yeast, and different yeasts are better to use with different things. But back in the day, they just let it come from the surface of the fruit that they had, or from the air in the brewery, because it's just around and about wherever you are. So the yeast starts to effectively eat sugar as it grows, and the byproduct of it eating the sugars is carbon dioxide and alcohol. And if it's a particularly strong yeast, it could tolerate very high alcohol levels, so you might get something really pretty strong. But more often than not, it sort of works out around the sort of thing that we expect of our beers, sort of 6% alcohol, maybe 8% alcohol. But, it can go pretty high. It would be the yeast itself. So if you have a lovely juice from your apples, very sweet when you get it, and you have the yeast in there and it works away, and it sort of goes, no, I can't cope anymore. Too much alcohol, I've actually poisoned myself, and it will die. And if it dies early in the process, the alcohol level will be lower and the sweetness will be higher. Oh, dry cider. I'm very much in favour of dry cider. I think the too sweet and it's lolly water. No, you want it to have some body. It really brings out the flavour of the apples that you've got. And that's where you do find very distinctive regional area or styles of cider. In England, many places have very distinctive ciders, and they are very proud of the work that they do because they have particular apples, particular growing conditions, all sorts of wonderful things. And even to this day, you could tour England with no trouble, just jumping from cider place to cider place and trying things, and there would be many differences and some delicious drinks. I quite often brew in 30-litre batches, but can brew up to 60 litres at a time. And on one occasion, preparing for an event, I did 110 litres in various vats in my brewery at the time. I'm a bit of a cheat when it comes to cider. I don't hesitate to use a good concentrated apple juice in a kit. And this makes it a very, very simple process. It's very accessible to any person who wishes to brew a cider, and you can get a really excellent result, which only takes a few weeks, and you can be drinking beautiful cider. And many good companies in Australia and New Zealand have these kits available. And as I say, I just don't hesitate. Go out to the brew shop, buy a kit, put it together. If I've got a big event coming up, 3 kits. I'd be looking for source materials from England and possibly having a look at some of the breweries that have been around a long time because the processes there would be quite readily accessible. I do point out that particularly when you're coming to juice your own apples, if you're really going to follow those traditional methods, there's some equipment you need, and it's not necessarily easy to juice those apples. They're a firm fruit, and they are hard to break up, and they are hard to press. Modern juice is readily available. You might consider doing that as a starting point, just buying some juice, or as I say, from kits, it's a juice concentrate. And in one case from a recipe that was published in 1652, Dr. Harvey's pleasant water cider, of which he drank much, making it his ordinary drink. What a title for a brew. That was one where it was actually in a recipe, in a book, as I say, published 1652, to chop up your pippins. It actually named the variety of apple that you wish to use, and to boil them up with water. And you used the water to brew with. Hence the water cider in the name. This would tend to not quite extract all the juice from the process, and it would end up, as it did with the batch that I made some years ago, it's a cloudy drink of low alcohol content. I ensured that it was lightly carbonated, but this made it extremely easy to drink. It wasn't something that you would be fall over drunk with, and it was extremely pleasant, as the title suggested. So I really must do that one again soon. Drink cider. Cider is good. Like it very, very much.